What's up, everybody? It's 8 o'clock, and you already know what time it is. It is time for my show, the Mecca James Show. I give you fashion, politics, relationships, and everything in between. Tonight, people, I give you another amazing show. We have a phenomenal woman on the show, Black Girls Rock. We have Miss Demetria Lucas on the show. She is an award-winning blogger, writer, best-selling author, and she's on a show called Blood, Sweat, and Heels. We're going to talk about her book, Don't Waste Your Pretty, and so much more. We're going to talk about relationships, and I just cannot wait because I love to have positive people on the show. You can also call us up at 347-857-4866, or you can go to blogtalkradio.com/Mecca Show and the number one. You know I entertain you as well as inform you. I try to bring you the best of the best to the Mecca James Show. And I believe we have our guest, Demetria Lucas, will be on the show. And let's go because I'm so excited. Let's see if she's on, everybody. It's the Mecca James Show.
Hey, Mecca, this is
Hello.
Demetria. Hello.
Hi,
Mecca,
Demetria. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. I just think that you're just such a positive person. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. I just want to tell you, we know you. First of all, I've been following your career since Essence. For people that don't know, this woman she brings a lot to the table. Like Geneva said, you need to bring receipts. Listeners out there, I'm going to give you a couple of receipts on Miss Demetria Lucas. First of all, before we get into that, I want to say congratulations on your wedding, your union, Black Love. I love that.
Thank you very much.
Undergrad from the University of Maryland, master's degree at NYU, journalism. You are a certified life coach. You were the editor of Essence Essence magazine. You have so much. When did you get your start? When did you know that writing was going to be your path?
It was some point when I was in undergrad. I was studying English, and I was a huge fan of magazines. I would read Vibe and Glamour and Vogue. And I thought I wanted to be an author early on, and then I realized I think I really want to do journalism. And I'd written an essay for one of my African American studies classes, and the teacher was reading it out loud, and I didn't even recognize it as my own work. And I was like, wow, that's really good. If I could write like that, then maybe I would be a journalist. I would actually try to be a published writer. And after she read the first paragraph, she identified it as mine, and I was like, holy crap, maybe I'm actually good at this writing thing. What could it be if I actually worked on it and pursued it and, try to make something of it?
And people want to know, at what age did that start? Because sometimes, you know your passion, but you don't know it's going to be your career path. What age was that?
Let's see. I graduated college when I was 20, so I was probably 19.
Wow, that is amazing. I have a thing for writers because, they're so creative, and with their writing, you can feel their emotions, which is, that's a unique gift. So I always have a thing with writers. I respect them to the utmost.
Awesome.
Thank you. Also, I wanted to know your blog. Tell us about your blog because I talk a lot when people come on the show about branding. You were able to make a brand out of this. Tell us a little bit about that. And for people that are entrepreneurs out there, get your pen and pencil because this is an expert that's going to tell you how it's done.
What's funny is, I started a Bell in Brooklyn in 2007. I wanted to read about women who were like myself and my friends, something about our dating experiences, something about living in New York. Sex and the City was super popular, but, there was no black girl on the show.
Absolutely.
And the women were a little older than us. I was probably in, my mid-20s at the time. And I really I wanted to see a reflection of myself and my friends, and I was complaining about there not being one to anyone who would listen. And finally, one of my friends was like, well, you're a writer, so why don't you just write? And that's how A Bell in Brooklyn was born. So I was just being very honest about, my dating experiences and the things that I was thinking about, when it came to trying to move up in my career or, just trying to date and some of the experiences that my friends and I had. And I was very honest. I never thought to, create a persona or hide behind anything or even, change details other than names to, to make it juicy or anything. But I think people responded to the honesty. And to be quite honest, a Belle in Brooklyn, I never thought to brand it. I think somewhere in like 2010 or so, I was dating a guy who was a graphic designer, and as a gift, he, made my Belle and BK logo for me, which I still use. But I never thought about branding. I just did what I loved to do, and I was consistent about it. And I put a lot of effort into making it quality. And if you really think about branding, that's what it is. It's what you're known for. And people showed up to my blog. It was mostly about dating and relationships, but I think people really showed up because they knew it was going to be honest. They knew there was going to be quality writing. And at the time, I was posting, either 5 to 7 times a week, so you knew there was going to be content. So people showed up, and they told their friends about it, and they were like, this girl is hilarious, or she's crazy, or whatever they thought of me. But they showed up to read whatever I was writing about, and I really appreciated it.
Absolutely. And I've met you a couple of times. This was a couple of years ago. You was at the Circle of Sisters. This was around the time, I think Justine and Reverend Run was on the relationship panel. I met you there. So I've watched your journey from afar. So I'm really able to appreciate everything that you bring to the table. Just being like a positive person, you know what I mean? Just your union, being positive, articulate, showing your education, being a black woman. I always try to get guests that, it's not about twerking. It's just about content and being substance. There are women like you and me that are still out there that are doing their thing. I just commend you on that for so many levels.
Thank you. And, there are so many women out there who are very similar to what you described, just for a lot of reasons that they're not always highlighted. So I really do appreciate you, bringing me to the show and, expanding my platform. I really, really appreciate, woman to woman looking out for each other.
Absolutely. And I wanted to know, I have a list, and you were on the list. There's several people that I like to interview. I think Dr. Steve Perry was on the list. I did that. You were on the list, and there's so many much more. So, vision, the secret, just putting it out there is always a good thing. But I follow your blog as well, and I wanted to ask you a question. What are your thoughts on the whole Freddie Gray thing and attorney Marilyn Mosby?
I mean, I think she's absolutely amazing, and I thought, obviously with Freddie Gray, there's so much that doesn't make sense about what happened, and I love that she is hell-bent on pursuing justice, and I love that in her media address that, reading the charges, that she addressed the young people of Baltimore to say that, I hear you, and I'm fighting for justice on your behalf, and the part about, this is, your time. Let's make the most of this. And people wanted to be heard. And I think so much of the violence and the marching, not even all the violence, because it wasn't all violent, but a lot of the protests in the streets of Baltimore was people who really were frustrated about not being heard. And it meant so much for someone at her level and with her platform to say, I hear you, I see you, I'm working for you. I was in tears when I saw that press conference.
Yes, I was so touched. I was like, yes, and the fact that, she brought it through her office and not a grand jury just it spoke volumes. I was like, yes. But anyway, I just we do current events, so I know I have to bring some questions about that up as well. Let's talk about your new book. Let's talk about your new book, Don't Waste Your Pretty. What is actually pretty?
So pretty is not just about looks, despite the title. Don't waste your pretty. The pretty in the title is a euphemism for all the things that women bring to relationships. So in no particular order and not an exhaustive list. Your energy, your listening skills, your calming spirit, your praying hands, your great ideas, your problem solving and solutions, your everything that you bring to a relationship that I think oftentimes women take for granted. We think that we're supposed to do these things for everyone to sort of prove to them that they should want us and they should like us. And so pretty, not waste your pretty means recognize who deserves your energy and your attention and your effort, and give it to the right people. Don't just go doling it out for everyone who shows up. A guy needs to prove, or a girl needs to prove that they're worthy of your attention and your effort and your time, because it's not to be wasted or trifled with. So don't waste your pretty is really just about, with the sort of subcaption says, making smarter decisions in life and love, like choosing who deserves your time, who you should give your patience to, who you should pray for, who you should listen to, who you should negotiate and compromise with. It's not everyone.
Absolutely. Now, this is a personal question for me because I'm still in the dating thing. Recently, there's been a couple of, I'm dating, but guys are saying that, I'm kind of like out of their league. You should do better, or, what do you see in me? Almost like an insecurity thing. What is that about?
I mean, I think you pinpointed it. The guy is insecure. He doesn't feel like he adds up. He doesn't get why you're with him. And honestly, I tell women, like, when a guy says to you that he feels you're too good for him or you're out of his league, listen, he's probably right. It's unfortunate that, that there are insecure people, not just men and women. But if a guy doesn't feel like, he can meet you as an equal, he feels like you're above him in station, whatever, he defines that as, or as, he probably isn't up to par. It's the truth of the matter, and I think you should run for the hills. Insecure men can, wreak havoc on your life. And as a woman who's been in a relationship with a couple, as a woman, I've found myself playing small to accommodate his ego and not try to, I don't want to do too much because I don't want him to feel blah, blah, blah. And you should never make someone else, or you never should dim your light. It's a Maya Angelou quote. You should never dim your light to make someone else, shine brighter. Just be your bright self and go find someone who's as bright or not brighter.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is why you're that relationship expert. What are some questions, common or frequent questions that you get about relationships?
Well, don't waste your pretty. I've been answering Ask FM, or answering anonymous questions on either formspring.me or Ask FM, or on my site at Ask Bell for the last 4 years, and I've answered about 40,000 questions. And don't waste your pretty.
Yes, I read some of them too.
Yeah, but don't waste your pretty is, probably like the questions that keep coming up over and over and over again. But a big one is communication, like what's up with, guys always texting, no one wants to call. The issue of couch dating, everybody wants to invite you over to the house, they never want to take you out. Guys that you may have dated for, a few months or in some cases a few years, and, they haven't committed. So how do I get him to commit? What's the time frame for talking about commitment? And then, how to handle arguments. I mean, communication is always so huge because that's, the gist of a relationship. But how to handle arguments, how to effectively talk to your mate about something that you're unhappy with and how to work it out without it turning into World War III.
Absolutely. I can see how those questions keep coming up. Now, you have, I want to say you have a strong personality because now in societies there's so many people that, they hold back their feelings. I feel like sometimes when you come across straightforward people, sometimes people are a little edgy about that. Do you feel like sometimes people can be intimidated by you? I respect the person that's honest, but do you feel like sometimes people can be intimidated by your personality and by you just being opinionated and straightforward?
You know what? I have a lot of thoughts and I have a lot of opinions, and I really only voice the ones that I feel are actually necessary to share. I'm not one of those people that thinks I need to speak up about everything, but if I have something to say, then I very well do say it. And, if people are intimidated by it, add it to the list of things that are not my problem. I'm sorry. I've never set out to be rude, and people talk about their lives, and I'm never like, well, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Literally, you have to ask me what I think, and I'll be like, oh, well, since you asked, I'll share my opinion. But, never my intention to be rude or mean. I don't have an evil spirit in my, or evil bone in my body, I don't think. But I am straightforward. I'm not really good at sugarcoating or talking in circles. I'm very direct, and some people don't like that, but it's really the only way I know how to be, and it's actually quite effective for me.
Do you feel like it's a gender thing? Because if you was a man, it wouldn't be like this. Do you feel like, I think that for women, especially as black women, we're supposed to be quiet, just sit pretty, no point intended, and just not really voice what our thoughts and our views is. And then it's like a triple threat that you're beautiful and you have an opinion and you're articulated and smart, and sometimes men will be like, whoa, you know what I mean? They're not ready for that. Do you feel that you get that sometimes?
Well, thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate that. But absolutely.
No problem.
If I were a guy, we would never have conversations about whether I'm too direct or intimidating or arrogant. I would be referred to as a great leader or a great thinker or passionate or inspiring or something like that. But I think as a woman, I'm, like we just talked about, you're kind of expected to, like, you know, play small and always get along and, you know, agree with the group or something like that. And that's just not who I am. I don't even know how to be that way. Much respect to the people who are happy playing that role, but that's just not one that I am able to play.
This is why I gravitate toward you. Now let's talk about your balance, because, you know, you're doing so much. You just got married. How are you able to balance all of that?
You know, it's a very careful game of balance, and it's something that I, you know, to be quite honest, that I struggle with. I do have a lot going on in terms of, you know, the book and, you know, TV appearances, and, you know, I write for The Root and I freelance for several other sites, so you know, I'm perpetually on deadline, and in The Husband, and there's always a lot going on. But I kind of equate it to, you know, if you go to the circus, you see like the guy who's like, what is it called? It's like spinning the plate. And it's sort of like you put those plates in motion, but every single one of them doesn't need your full attention all the time. So you're kind of like just, you know, bouncing back and forth, trying to figure out what needs you right now. Sometimes you can let something cook for a minute and it's okay. You don't have to check on it like right then. So I just try to be very, you know, mindful of what needs my attention right now and what can I put on the back burner, and also what can I delegate. I think sometimes as women we have a very difficult time asking for help, and it was something that I struggled with for a really long time, and I just had to get over it. I'm like, I can't do all this by myself. Like, I need to have great people around me who I'm able to say, hey, I need help with, can you, and trust that they're going to get it done better than I would even do it. So, you know, once I said, I need help, you know, it's amazing how many people showed up and said, I can help you.
Do you hear that, people? Always have a great team on your side. Now, you're on Bravo TV. I said, Demetria Lucas is on Bravo TV. She's on the new show, Blood, Sweat, and Heels. But you bring so much to the table, New York Times, TheRoot.com, Essence. What made you want to do Blood, Sweat, and Heels?
You know, I thought at the time that it was just sort of a natural transition. You know, I blogged about my life. I'd written a book, you know, about my dating experiences to 21 to 30, and I thought it would just be an interesting way to bring it all together, like to just sort of put it out there in video format. You know, I'm a writer. I don't really do, like, you know, in front of the camera, but I thought it would be an interesting challenge, and it would be something new and a way to sort of showcase all the things that I've been talking about all these years. And I just thought I had something to say. Like, there are not very many characters on, quote-unquote characters on TV like me who are, you know, very opinionated, who are very comfortable with, you know, just going on their own and, you know, stepping away from the flock. And I thought maybe I would, you know, bring something new to the genre.
And also, a friend of mine, she's just got married, and she says she can relate to your relationship with your husband because, you know, it's not overly affectionate, but she said, this is me and my husband, just like her husband, Demetria, and her husband. We're the same way. So, you know, you have so many people that are gravitating towards you for different reasons.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, I think it's kind of obvious sometimes. Like, my husband and I are not all that comfortable in front of camera. So some of the, you know, like, lack of affection or, you know, just sort of like, what's going on is because we got, like, you know, 2 cameras in our face and producers and, you know, all these people on set sort of watching us. So it's just sort of weird sometimes. And, you know, let me, because he's not in the interview, but I'll take accountability. Like, I'm not really comfortable in front of a camera. I'm a writer. I'm much more comfortable in front of my laptop. But I also think people who are in relationships know that, like, every day is not sunshine, you know? Sometimes it's just going through the day. Like, what do we need to do today? Like, what are we thinking about? Like, he has his own things going on in his head. I have mine as well, my own responsibilities. So, some days we're like, cuddly and affectionate, we're all over each other, and then other days it's just like, we got things to take care of, so mwah, mwah, and I'm off.
Exactly, doing your own thing. Now, people wanted to know, who are you close to on the show? I believe it will be Geneva, Melissa. Who are you the closest with on the show?
That's a tough one. I mean, I've known Melissa the longest, and we were, like, pretty tight before the show, and I think since then, we spend a lot of time together. Not so much on camera, but, like, off camera. Like, we'll go hang out and spend, like, 9 hours at a restaurant talking about nothing,
Yeah.
And have those, like, all-day text conversations about, like, random things. So I would say Melissa.
Okay. How the whole Daisy incident, that was very heartbreaking for that. How did you feel about that? Did you know beforehand, or when did you find out?
No, I found out with cameras rolling. When you see Melissa telling us at the dinner or the lunch, or I guess the brunch or so, that was me finding out on camera. I didn't know. I had no clue. I had no clue whatsoever. Like, she literally said it on camera, and I was like, I'm sorry, what's wrong with Daisy? Like, what? Like, that's a very real, genuine reaction.
Wow. And that's very touching for me, because my mom passed away with cancer, and I have family members that had cancer and had passed away for it. So I just, I pray for her and, her recovery and everything, because that's a very serious issue.
Yeah, my grandmother passed away from cancer, and my mother didn't meet her biological sister until very late in life. We met her maybe 4 to 5 months before she passed away. She had stage 4 cancer when we met her for the first time, and that was the only time my mother met her sister. But 4 months after that, like, she passed away, and there was a time when I would think of, like, 50s is so old, but now it seems so young.
Yeah.
And Daisy to be 34 and she had stage 3 cancer. It was unfathomable. Like, my heart goes out to her. Like, I couldn't even imagine, but she's definitely been in my prayers. Absolutely.
Absolutely. On another note, we have so many writers because I respect them so much. Can you give any advice to some writers out there? What can they do to get their stuff published, or just, pursuing their dreams? Can you give them any advice on that?
I would say reach out to online before print. Print still has a bit of prestige left to it, but online just has more space. It doesn't pay as well, but it has more space. And so if there's a great idea and you pitch it to, an online publication, they can figure it out and make space for it, so you have a better shot. I would definitely encourage people, because a lot of times people write and they write for themselves, they write for their blog, or they do these Facebook status updates, and they have really great ideas, but they don't pitch them anywhere. So you definitely need to make sure that you're not just giving your ideas away in terms of, like, tweet about, a great idea. Somebody will see it and write that 500-word article and get paid for it while you're just having an idea about it. So make sure that you're out there pitching. And then read great work. Like, for all the sites that you want to write for, all the places you want to write for, like, you should be well-versed in the tone, the language, the length, the pieces, the type of things that they publish, so that when you're pitching an editor, you're really on the money and you're giving the editor what they want. Because as a former editor, like, what I wanted great stories that were written well. So if it was a new writer, if it was an old writer, I didn't care who it was. It was just like, is it a good story? Is my audience going to like it? Are they going to get hits? Of course, because that matters. That's how the bills get paid. And are they easy for me to work with? Like, if you turn something in and I have to do extensive edits, then I'm like, it's a great idea, but this is way too much work. I want to, funnel things through the system as fast as possible.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? Books, shows, what is next for Miss Demetria Lucas?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. 5 years ago, I never thought I would, write 2 books and do a TV show. Like, I couldn't predict what I was going to do. So I don't know. I honestly don't.
Wow. That's amazing. Because usually I give that question and they say, oh, next a year I'm going to be doing this. That's so good that you're just living life, because that's what writers have to do. They have to have content. They have to live life to write. So you're doing exactly what is need to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on travel right now. I have some interesting trips coming up and some things that I'm planning. So, I'll definitely share those experiences on Instagram, and I'll do blog posts if something strikes me, particularly while I'm off on an adventure, and I'll be writing for all the sites that I currently do, and have great ideas and write for new ones. But in the meantime, I'm in a good place right now, and I'm really enjoying just sort of living. So
absolutely living life. One last question: who or what inspires you? Because everyone has something that they're inspired by. Some people do.
Who inspires me? That's a really interesting question. I look at women who've had like amazing careers and are just sort of full of life. Like I love Michaela Angela Davis. She's an image activist.
She's amazing.
CNN contributor, and I love to just watch her go. I love to see like what she's up to and what she's talking about. I love Harriet Cole. She's a mentor of mine, and she's just had a really amazing career. Like she's an Essence woman, and she's written several books, and she did Oprah, and she's always doing something refreshing. I like women who have multiple careers. Like they do one thing and they're really good at that, and then they decide, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to be really good at that. It's what I like to call like the Maya Angelou syndrome. It's like you're not just good at one thing, and you're not just interested in one thing. You just want to explore and see where life takes you. And I'm interested in women like that. I'm inspired by women like that.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show. And tell everyone out there that's listening on the phone and listening in the chat room, where can they follow you? Facebook, Instagram, your website. Put it all out there so everybody can know.
So the website is abellinbk.com, ABELLEINBK. Make sure you put that E on Bell. And it's Abel and BK on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, every major social media site, all Abel and BK.
Thank you so much. And would you like to do a drop for the Mecca James Show? That would be perfect, and then we can go.
Sure, I can totally do that. Hey, this is Demetria Lucas, author of Don't Waste Your Pretty, and I'm tuning in to the Mecca James Show.
Thank you so much. Brooklyn is in the house. People, I tell you, I bring you the best of the best to the Mecca James Show. I had Miss Demetria Lucas on the show. We have to bring the positivity. And all the writers out there, make sure you take your notes. Make sure you follow her on Instagram. Make sure you follow her on Twitter. Make sure you just go to her website, buy her book. Everyone is doing such a phenomenal job, and I just love writers. So it's the Mecca James Show. You can also follow me on Instagram, Mecca James, and you can also follow me on Twitter, Mecca from Uptown. Until next week, love, live life. God bless everyone.